Remember AMD Dual Graphics on the FM2 Plus platform? Well, I do, because I messed up my first gaming PC so bad using that platform that it wouldn't even let me play the games I wanted to play on the lowest setting possible at 720p, and that was only 5 years ago. This gaming PC is so bad that even when I was trying to record some gameplay using OBS or fraps, it would not let me go past the title screen as it started to stutter and just froze. So today I'm going to take you back to early 2014 to my brand new components gaming PC, or so I thought, which is, by the way, still running fine today, except I cannot use it as a gaming PC. I couldn't back then, and I certainly can't do it now. Hopefully you're going to learn some of the first gaming PC build traps to avoid and also benefit from the awesome pool of knowledge and wisdom that I've acquired over the years. Coming up, roll the intro. Hey tags and welcome. This is Ash from HealMyTech, helping you go from newbie to techie. Take a quick second to subscribe if you've not done so yet, and also enable the bell icon notification. Also, please, I am affiliated with Amazon US and UK. There are links below. Use them even if you don't buy the exact same products. Everything you do purchase, I'll get a small kickback. Thanks a million for supporting the channel. Make sure you watch to the end because I'm going to be asking you what I'm supposed to do with this computer next. So, end of 2013 saw the release of Tomb Raider, the massive reboot hit, which also gave us some innovative graphics like the Trace FX hair of Lara Croft. Consequently, it was just about the time when I started paying attention to PC gaming. So in early 2014, I decided to start building a computer based on alleged months of research so I could play Tomb Raider and also catch up on some previous AAA titles like Batman Arkham Asylum, City, Hitman Absolution, Far Cry 3, etc. Because of course, Steam. I mean, who can say no to AAA titles at £3.75 each? Even though I was a bit late in the game, but still, come on, it'd be insane to say no to that price. So I spent a generous £375, that's just about $475, excluding Windows license and peripherals, on this assumingly gaming PC, a standard micro ATX gaming PC, also I thought. And my aim was simple: 1080p gaming, 30 FPS minimum at about a medium setting. I wasn't too bothered about 60 FPS back then. This was going to be my first experience with gaming on a PC, coming from a console platform like the PlayStation 2 a few years prior. I kind of took a break. 2014 was the year of the NVIDIA 750 Ti to 780 Ti, and on the AMD side we had the R7 to R9 200 series. On the CPU side from AMD we had the FX series like the FX 8350 on the AM3 Plus platform, and on the APU side we had things like the A10 7850K. As for Intel, I do not have the exact CPUs in mind because I wasn't really looking at Intel because of budget constraints. So I think it was like the Core i5 4400. Someone can correct me. So do bear in mind though, I started buying these components from about April 2014. So this would have been based on research up until end of 2013 and possibly Q1 of 2014, although I'm not much of a early adopter, so the latest ones would probably not have made my choice anyway. Back then, a dual core CPU was plenty for gaming, not a problem. So why did I go with AMD Dual Graphics, I hear you ask, instead of just sticking with a normal CPU and a dedicated graphics card? Well, first, I was fascinated with the APU, which is an accelerated processing unit, essentially a CPU and a graphics card all on one chip. And because the noob in me back then thought dual graphics meant double graphics, as in double the FPS. I know, right? Stupid. Of course, a much better option would have been to get the A10 7850K and then pair that with the graphics card. I think it was the R7 250. Then that would have allowed for much better gameplay and much better FPS, but that wasn't within my budget. The idea of the APU was to get people into gaming while waiting to get a much better graphics card, either by pairing with the dual graphics recommendation or just ignoring the APU aspect and just getting a discrete graphics card later on. But of course, I thought I knew better and I was saying, nah, I don't need the A10. I'm just going to stick with a different APU, a lower one. So let me talk you through the actual physical components of my first gaming PC, and then I'm going to give you some benchmarking. So let's start with the case. This is the Sharkoon MA-M1000 micro ATX case, standard stuff. You do have a cutout here for a 140mm fan, which I did used to put before. Right now, I've just put a very cringy cardboard to prevent some dust. This is for a different project. As you can tell, I wasn't too bothered about the aesthetics. Wasn't going to be anything fancy because this was going to have a closed panel anyway, so color scheme not really bothered, to be honest. A bit of blue, bit of red, a bit of, and obviously some green and white here, so who cares? I don't. For £30, this case was actually really good and also quite silent. It came with a rear fan of 120mm and also a front fan of 140mm, and not bad at all for noise. And the front panel came off as standard, 2 USB 3 and 2 USB 2.0 on the front, with, you know, the microphone input and the headphone jack. Also has some options to add extra disc, and this is also removable, so giving you also ability to put probably bigger graphics card in there. So I was quite happy with the case in terms of quality and noise level. Next we have the power supply. This is from Corsair CX430M. This is a semi-modular power supply. It costs £38.27, and I do not remember whether I picked it up for a specific reason. I don't even think I did a watts calculation for the whole system. It was probably based on availability and possibly budget. Maybe it was an offer, I can't remember. But this power supply has been working all the way, no problem. The only thing is got only one slot for the PCI with 6+2 pin for any graphics card, so we won't be able to power something more demanding. Next, the motherboard is the A78M-E35 from MSI. Standard micro ATX motherboard, 2 RAM slots, 4 SATA slots, 3 video ports at the back, HDMI, VGA and DVI, so quite handy. Obviously you have to use an APU to be able to use the video ports, otherwise you'll have to use the graphics card video ports. Now for just £37.98, it wasn't the absolute cheapest motherboard, but also what I did not know is that this motherboard is not very good for overclocking, something I did not know back then, not that it would have helped me anyway. Next we have the APU under this cooler, which is the AMD A8 6500, base clock 3.5 GHz, turbo at 4.1 GHz. Again, why did I go for this APU and not the A10 7850K? Budget probably, and I thought I knew better. What I did not know is that this APU was not really a quad core. Also, I thought it was a quad core. It's essentially a 2-core with 4 threads, plus obviously the graphics on there, which is something like the HD 8570. Now also this denomination HD 8570 I thought was equivalent to a graphics card which had HD 8570 equivalent to it. Not the case, much lower graphics on there. But for just about £70.14, you know, we can discuss whether it was good value for money or not later. Also, this APU, I don't believe it's overclockable. And we come to the aftermarket cooler. This is the Cooler Master Hyper 103, which is, by the way, the third good thing which comes out from this build. And later on in the video, I'm going to mention 2 good things, but this is actually the third one. So let's put that in post. And it gave me the ability to do a video how to set up and install this. Bit of controversial, got some negative comments, but also with some squeaky voice, and you can watch the video up there in the link. And that retailed for just about £19.12. We did get some decent temperature after we first installed it, but I think since then I probably need to do a bit of cleaning as the paste underneath might have dried up. For the RAM, I went with 2 sticks of 4GB DDR3 1866 MHz CL10 from HyperX, and this was really crucial in terms of allowing for dual graphics setup. More information in the video. And for what should have been the pièce de résistance, unfortunately the only pairing or the highest pairing for the APU was going to be the HD 6670 1GB DDR5, so I chose the one from Asus. It cost about £52.99, brand new from Amazon. Of course, this is not a powered GPU. It takes its power from the motherboard PCI slot, and although many games said it required about 1GB of VRAM, this did have 1GB, but there's a lot more to a graphics card than just the VRAM, as we have come to learn since then. For the storage, I went with a disk similar to this, not this one. It was a 1TB SSHD, so a solid state hybrid drive, which was supposed to have SSD and normal hard disk drive, best of both worlds combined. To be honest, I did not see much difference in that, but anyway, it cost about £54.20. And last but not least, in terms of components, there was still use for DVD drives back then, so I slot one in for about £12 something. I think it was £11.99. As for the operating system, I did not have to pay for because I had some licenses lying around, and I used one of them to activate through the phone activation system with Microsoft, and it worked. I did not question it further. So what were my main mistakes? Number one, lack of proper research. What would have been helpful is to find the highest demanding game that I wanted to play at the time, find out the recommended specs, not the minimum specs, but the recommended specs for that game, and multiply that by at least 1.2 to 1.5 times the requirements to kind of short-term future-proof it. Number two, AMD Dual Graphics was not as hot as I thought it was. Fair enough, it had its place for budget-minded gamers, and maybe in places where they did not have access to all kinds of graphics card and other types of components. But I was in UK and I was able to have access to all this stuff, except I was stupid enough to misunderstand the information. I believe dual meant double. I should have stuck with a traditional CPU and a dedicated graphics card. Number three, in retrospective now, if gaming is the intention, I know for a fact that the two most important components are going to be the power supply and the graphics card. So skimming on the rest of the components would allow for a much greater share of the budget on these two components. And if budget is a problem, I would say a combination of used and new components is the way to go. This is certainly what I've learned and what I've done for the next build, which you can watch up there. It cost me about £200 or $250, and it's giving me 1080p gaming, 60 FPS on the highest possible setting for most games. Number four, it's not major, but the SSHD was not really as good as I thought it was. Obviously, it kind of killed two birds with one stone with some sort of SSD and a normal hard drive performance, but really and truly, I didn't see much difference with the normal hard drive. So I could have just gotten an SSD for the main boot drive and then add an additional storage drive. It would have been much better for performance, and I think these days is quite standard anyway. Number five, and that's something I'm going to go in more detail in our series One PC to Rule Them All video up there, is that I should not have chosen a micro ATX size computer case. Instead, for a first time builder, I will advise that you get a mid tower, something that would fit an ATX motherboard. Even though you may be getting a micro ATX motherboard, it is much easier to work with, especially as a first time builder. You're going to be making mistakes, you may end up cutting yourself, hurting yourself, so a bit of room is going to be helpful. So what other major mistakes did I make for this build? Let me know in the comment section below. But there are two good things which did come out of this build. The first one was obviously it gave me a very good practical experience with PC building and troubleshooting. At the end of the day, I did manage to build a PC, a gaming PC, a crappy one, but it still worked and it's still functional. And number two, more importantly, it gave me a problem about dual graphics, how to set up, and because at the time the internet did not have the right information for me, so on a hunch I managed to get this video up and running, how to set up dual graphics for AMD, and it was a very good video for me. It was my first kind of launch to take YouTube seriously, and I think I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that video. So you can understand my personal attachment to this computer. Although it's been 5 years, I don't use it for gaming. I barely used it for some content creation at the beginning of YouTube videos using Windows, the Windows editing software. I don't even remember what it's called these days, Windows Live Movie Maker, yeah, but it's really not even good for that anymore. I barely now use it for browsing, not for gaming at all, just browsing and maybe doing some research and some studies every now and then. So what should I do with this PC now? Now you're gonna have to help me to decide, and I'm going to put a link for a community post on YouTube so you can go and decide and vote on it. So option number one is going to be leave this computer as is, just for, you know, background research, studies, maybe browsing, etc., and as a reminder for the mess that I've done. Number two is going to be just sell it off and just at least recuperate some money. Maybe if I kind of market it as HealMyTech's first gaming PC, maybe someone who doesn't know me very well might buy it. You know, hint hint, my good marketing, I don't know, would be fooling people, I'm not sure. And number three, it would be to upgrade this, maybe get the most out of this platform. So definitely leave everything except for the CPU and the graphics card, which is going to be the two main things to change without having to swap out the power supply. What do you guys think? Maybe something like the Athlon X4 860K, and then paired with some decent graphics card. I don't know, you tell me, a non-powered GPU one. Anyway, go to the community section and vote and let me know. Okay guys, so we're coming to the end of today's video. I want to thank you for staying. As usual, you know what to do down below. If you've not subscribed yet, please consider doing so and enable the bell icon notification. Also, please also remember to use my affiliate links for both Amazon UK and US. It does help out the channel. And as always, it was a pleasure. This was Ash from HealMyTech, helping you go from newbie to techie. Until next time, peace out.